Ladies and gents, girls and boys, how you doing today? Let's get this camera at a better angle. There we go. I think that's better. Yeah. So, welcome to another Naked Sound review with me, Danny Stewart from BassFanDirect.com, and today it's going to be all about ESP basses and their range. And I'm going to start by introducing this rather cool looking character, which is an ESP E2 J5, and this one's in mint condition, and I have made this thumb ramp for it, which that if you're interested in ordering a thumb ramp custom made, there's a link below for that. But what I wanted to do was show the differences between the ESP ranges. I don't have the high-end range in stock right now, the custom shop, but I do have Grassroots, which is their entry level, Edwards, which is their mid-market, and this, which is their mid-high market. Okay, so this is the bridge between mid-market and their high end. So, and in trying all of these, what I do notice is that because this neck is entirely made in Japan, this is basically the same as a high-end custom shop ESP neck, but it's on a Korean body with the Seymour Duncan pickups and preamp. So these Seymour Duncan pickups are a little bit higher grade than the Seymour Duncan pickups that are in the Edwards, but there's not that much in it. These are a bit quieter. And they're a little bit more conservative, actually. Those are a little bit more aggressive, in my opinion. Let's just take a listen. So go with the preamp, everything dialed up, bass, treble, full up, balanced, and we'll just some random slap crap. So let's compare that with the Edwards over there and just see what we got. So the Edwards, the difference here is that everything, the neck and the body, are Korean made, and then the bass is assembled in Japan. It has the same hardware as the E2. It has almost the same circuitry. It's got the same preamp, control set, and it's got nearly the same pickups. I think these are a different model, maybe a slightly cheaper model from Seymour Duncan, but you can hear sound-wise, I find this is a little bit more aggressive, but it has the same focus, pretty much. Let's just talk about sustain now. Actually, we'll do that next. Let's go on to the cheap entry level bass here. We'll talk about sustain after. So right now we're dealing with how focused the sound is. So what I noticed about this, much lighter than either of those. This is an ash body, but it's in 3 pieces, not 2 pieces, and it's made in Korea entirely as well. Yeah, it's a lot. The sound is a lot less focused. There's not as much punch, like. It's not bad though. I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, but it's definitely not as good, right? Sound-wise. So, but price-wise, these are about 58,000 yen new. Those are about 150,000 yen new, and those are about 250,000 yen new. So, or rather, actually no, a little bit cheaper, maybe 230,000 yen new. These are all second-hand, though, by the way, just to be clear. So, yeah, for me, so far, my personal preference is this. I like the sound of that better than either of those. Playability-wise, my preference is the E2. It just feels a little bit more, just a tiny bit more responsive and smooth compared to the Edwards. There's not much in it though, really not much in it. All right, let's go back and no, not to the Edwards. Let's go to the E2 and let's talk about sustain. So my belief is that because this is an entirely Japanese made neck, that and it doesn't have any support rods in it, that the sustain is going to be superior to either of those. So the Japanese high-end necks, all the makers have the same standard. They don't want to put support rods in them. The reason they don't want to put support rods in them is because it detracts from the sustain and tone. And I would tend to agree, although I would say that you need golden ears to really notice the difference. It's a negligible difference. So yeah, so you heard there how long that sustains. I hardly have to touch the strings. It's just, I don't have to put much pressure to keep that chord in check, right? Playability is very easy. Very, very nice. And by the way, this is a 35-inch scale, just to be clear. So you've heard that for sustain. Let's go on to the Edwards now, which this does have support rods in it. It's a Korean-made neck. More noise on these pickups than on the E2. They're a little bit more aggressive sounding though. It's not quite, it's almost as easy to play, but not quite. Yeah. harmonics on this are not quite as clear and bell-like as on the E2. And definitely the D is shorter than on the E2. And that has a lot to do with the reinforcement rods. You know, when you put a piece of metal either side of the truss rod, that metal will resonate at a certain frequency. I mean, it happens with wood too. It's not to say that it doesn't happen with wood. It does happen with wood. It's a very, very well-known fact that the G string on a jazz bass has spots that there are notes which are shorter than others, and typically around the 7th fret, somewhere around there. Sometimes 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th fret will be shorter than anywhere else on the entire bass. That's perfectly normal on a jazz bass. But yeah, so there you go. Sustain wise, I think in the higher regions it's comparable, but as you get lower down the neck, it's not as good. Let's just check that again. Yeah, no, this is yeah, no, this is quite different actually. Now that I do that, be interested to know what you think. Yeah, and the harmonics pop. So definitely a superior neck. Still, now let's go on to the grassroots and see what we've got there, sustain wise. So just dial everything up. Oh, that's dying out. Yeah. It's not necessarily, you're not necessarily going to need like massive amounts of sustain. I find like for the money this is bloody amazing, but yeah, it's certainly inferior. Certainly inferior to the E2. This is entirely made in Korea as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if the neck is actually of a comparable quality to the Edwards neck anyway. The sound is certainly nowhere near as good as the Edwards in terms of fundamental, but I think the neck is comparable in terms of playability. Yeah, and it's about the same. Yeah, actually, one thing I noticed about these grassroots is that the nut is cut very, very well. You know, I've seen nuts cut terribly on high-end Fenders, and other brands as well. But yeah, they've paid attention and cut the nut nicely on this. So yeah, I mean it's not bad. Certainly for the money, 58,000 yen new, 150,000 yen new, 230,000 yen new, roughly. So in dollars, we're talking like 350, about 900, something like that. Oh wait a minute, 150,000 yen. No. About $1,100 new, and about 1,000 800, something like that, new. So quite, you know, reasonable. The Edwards and the E2 are for the sound quality and playability are really extremely good. And I'd say the grassroots for 350 is bloody amazing. But it's not, you know, it's not bad. It's just that the fundamental is a little bit dead because I think the body's it's a bit too light. You know, if you want denser ash, maybe. Yeah, it's hard to say. Some people really like light bodies, but I do think that there is a case to be had for heavy bodies having a better fundamental. Didn't really listen to the rear pickup on this. Let's just compare rear pickups. Oh, that's a nice rear pickup tone. That was with everything dialed up. Now I'll take the treble right down. That's nice. Oh, that's a very nice rear pickup tone. I like that a lot. And then let's go on to the Edwards. Just compare that. It's with everything dialed up. Yeah, I mean, listen to the E string when it's open. It is much better. It's definitely much better. Let's take the treble down to notch. But I don't think the neck is necessarily any better in terms of playability or sustain. I think it's the body which is giving us more because it's heavier, it's denser, and this is 2-piece, not 3-piece. That might make a difference too. And well, the hardware is just better. So you've got a heavier bridge. At least I think it's heavier. Yeah. So those are some factors that need to be taken into account. And then when we look at the E2 here, rear pickup. Let's take the treble down to notch. All the way down. Definitely the sustain is superior. I don't think the sound is any better than the Edwards personally. In terms of what you're getting out of the pickups and the preamp, it's down to personal preference. But yeah, and I'm not going to go on to the front pickups of these. I think doing the rear pickups and balanced is enough for our purposes. You can hear that in conclusion, and I wonder if you'll agree with me, the denser the wood, the better the fundamental. Um, the sustain is better without the support rods. Um, this has better sustain and more clarity of harmonics as well than either the Edwards or the Grassroots. Um, the Grassroots is the cheapest one, and you can hear why. The fundamental is kind of a little bit weak. You know, it doesn't punch like these guys do. Um, yeah. In conclusion, I think that what Edwards offers is probably the best in terms of value for money, because you get playability which is almost as good as the E2, and by if it's almost as good as the E2, then it means it's almost as good as the ESP custom shop in terms of playability. Sound is pretty much the same as far as I'm concerned. I have no no particular preference between this and the sound of the Edwards. I kind of like the Edwards is a little bit more aggressive. It has slightly different. The pickups are a different model. They're Seymour Duncan, but they're a different model. Um, but yeah, this is quieter. Definitely, the pickups are quieter. They're shielded better. So there's that to take into consideration too. Um, but yeah, it's very interesting just to see how much difference body mass density and having no titanium or no reinforcement rods in the neck makes to the sustain and clarity of an instrument. So there you go, guys. I hope you found that very useful. And if you're interested, again, in any of these basses, they're linked below. You can buy them directly on Shopify from this clever little YouTube integration that they do. Same with the thumb rest. You can order your own thumb ramp as well. If you want to get an E2 on the used market, I can source one for you like I did for the proud owner of this beauty. All right, so that'll do it, guys. I hope you found that interesting and useful, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers!